So if I were to ask a group of people how many of you have been affected by gun violence, sadly a few hands would probably raise. And if I were to ask that same group how many have been affected by automobile accidents or deaths, a lot more would undoubtedly raise. And there's a few reasons for that. And I'm going to do a couple of comparisons when it comes to the numbers, and I get that they're not quite apples to apples in comparison, but there are some telling details whenever you start to look into those numbers. And later on, we'll do that. But for right now, I want to get into how there's no quick fixes. And we all know this, whether it's in life or anything else like that. There's no magic pill that's going to just completely, bring success to every type of situation you're put in. And gun control is no different. And it's a very personal subject because it is a terrible thing whenever you hear of gun violence and the way the news feeds are today and all the mass shootings. They seem to be happening every other day. And it just becomes, more of a, you want to do a knee jerk reaction, like a prisoner of the moment type of a thing where you just get the guns off the streets. Like that has to be the way, the only way. But whenever you look into it, it's not necessarily that cut and dry. There's a lot of gray area when it comes into that. You all know that highly emotional decisions aren't the best ones. And we can look to the war on drugs for some type of reference. The National Institute of Drug Abuse did a survey in which 24.6 million people had taken illegal substances within the last 30 days. 24.6 million. So clearly, the war on drugs is not working. If somebody wants to do ill will towards you, they're going to do it, and they're not going to. Not having a gun readily available isn't going to stop them from doing that. It's just something that it's more of a human behavior type of an issue, and it's just going to empower criminals if we take guns off the streets. Imagine a world where a criminal knows that he's the only one wielding that type of weapon, that type of power, into a neighborhood where that's utterly, literally defenseless when they can't match the same type of firepower, for lack of a better term, when it comes to defense. And that's just a scary situation. And then police officers are human too. There's lots of crooked cops already, and some of them aren't even that poorly trained. You see all these police violence and police shootings already in the news, and could you imagine if they know that they had that type of power as well? It just makes for a slippery slope when it comes to this type of thinking in that direction that we're thinking of heading of disarming the American citizen to protect himself. It just doesn't seem like the right direction. So we are going to get to the numbers here. Though the CDC did a report, and so 39,773 Americans died guns in 2017, which was the highest in 50 years. Um, it seems like it takes a couple of years for them to get the numbers out, probably due to investigations. 28,159 were injured. So that's quite a large number, but it doesn't seem quite as alarming as it would whenever you see like the news and on the news feeds on your mobile devices and things like that. You would think that with all the mass shootings, all this, that number would be kind of higher. Um, Thank goodness it's not. The U.S. Department of Transportation, however, did their numbers for car and automobile deaths was 37,133, and then of course 1 million and a little over 800,000 injured. So obviously, there's more cars on the roads than there are guns in people's hands, so that those numbers are going to be there. But whenever you look into, I get the details of it. So, like, if you are there's a drunk driver in a courtroom, you would never see the opposition or the people screaming, get the car off the street. It's just a danger to society and humanity. The drunk driver, distracted driver, whoever it was that did the crime is the one that's held responsible. But when it comes to guns, it doesn't seem that cut and dry. It's more, the person doesn't get off the hook necessarily, but the gun does get shed. It gets demonized along with that person, as if the gun has something to do with it. Guns have been around for 100 years. They didn't decide to just suddenly start shooting more people. People decided to start doing that, and whenever one of the numbers is really telling when it comes to that. And out of that 39,000, 23,854 were due to suicide, self-inflicted. That's over 60%. Over 60% of the gun deaths in the year where the highest deaths in the last 50 years were due to suicide. And that just kind of shows the benchmark of our mental health when it comes to our country and how everything, death and destruction, is normalized through music and television and movies. And then now with the shock and awe of like YouTube and things like that. Everybody wants to get the eyes on them. And in order to do that, you have to be doing something that's just completely outrageous. And the suicide thing is really just a haunting piece of evidence when it shows that yeah, over 60% of those deaths is just due to suicide. And so whenever you kind of think about it, it's just getting the guns off the streets. It's kind of putting the band-aid over it, and it's not delving into the real issue. It's ignoring it, and it's not the right direction to go. Um, the way to really do gun control um, is knowledge and respect for life and things like that. Whenever the car was first implemented, it almost got outlawed through states and nationwide because of so many deaths and injuries. It wasn't until the stop sign was first implemented and the stop lights, and then everyone now with the knowledge of getting a driver's license in order to operate a motor vehicle, that it becomes safer. And I think that taking an approach of knowledge and respect, and then not ignoring what's really going on with the mental health aspect, is more the direction that needs to go than just a quick get the guns off the streets. That would definitely give us side effects that we do not want. We would not be prepared for.